Hey, y'all. As you'll notice tonight, I am not outside. It is raining and miserable and wet is never good for the equipment. So we're doing it from inside. I'm actually visiting family, which is why I'm visiting my mom, which is why I happen to be doing, right on the lake and whatnot. It's kind of an awesome view. Right now I'm down in I'm down in my mom's sewing workshop. But yeah, we're doing the show live from here. And yeah, so tonight we're going to be talking about editing videos and, oh, okay, yeah, no, and I'm getting spam. Wow, don't I feel special? All right. Welcome to all of you who are joining in. I want to give mad shout outs to all of you who have been following so far. And I want to remind you guys, for those of you who are tuning in later, again, starting tomorrow, we're going to go to 6:45. So we're not doing live at 7:45. It'll be live at 6:45. And we are going to be jumping in a little bit earlier. I do this on feedback from a few people who said, hey, 7:30 is just kind of like when I'm trying to get into family time or whatnot. It just kind of, so we're going to, back it up a bit and see how that works and see if that works better for you guys. So awesome there. Right. Let's jump in. We're going to be talking about editing photos because we took two lives to talk about shows. We took two shows to talk about taking your photos and how to get the best out of taking the photos. And tonight we're going to be looking at some of the options in terms of what you do once you have the photos. Like we will talk about filters. We will talk about all kinds of neat stuff like that. So let's jump into it. And I want to give a mad shout out to Sabrina, who submitted. I put a challenge out yesterday. I asked you guys for some action, and I got some action. In terms of send me a photo you took before and the after you use the techniques. And I want to show you guys this one. I got this awesome photo from Sabrina. This is the before, and then here is her after. You notice how the composition, right here, I see the subject is flat in the middle. I know that the building is the subject. I like the light shine off of that. That's really neat. But when we get right into the composition, look how cool that is. Nicely cropped for the screen too. And look how awesome that is with the building being right on the 1/3, and really, you kind of have this nice canopy, and it really divides it up super, super nicely. And the crane is almost incidental, but it's still a cool feature. So Sabrina, thank you for sending that in. That is so many shades of awesome. I love it. And I am going to jump into some photos that I've been taking over the past couple of days to show you guys how to edit your photos. Now, I see that nobody's joined up yet, but that's okay. We're a little bit early yet, right? We are only at 7:40. Oh, we're at 7:48. 7:48. So you guys are jumping in soon enough. All right, I am going to have to take my photos window down a notch. So here we go. Right. So here is my photos window, and here is, you know what? I'm not going to start with this one, although as nice as it is, I'm not going to start with it. I'd like to start really with, let's start with this one. This one, you know what? No, let's start with this one. Why not? All right. Let me show you guys a few really, really cool tricks when it comes to editing. So I'm going to pull up my editing panel. If you guys want to know, by the way, I am using Photos. I'm using the stock app, the stock Photos app from Apple. And I'm going to go to the edit screen, which is in the upper right. And that's going to pull up this editing toolbar. Now, I mentioned I'm in Photos. I'm on a Mac, and I'm using Photos on the Mac. So this is the stock app. I'm not using anything crazy advanced. I have all the software and the know-how to do this. Now, for those of you who kind of just know me as, hey, Richard, I am my background is as a graphics tech, and I didn't go to school for that. I apprenticed. So I learned under this guy named Frank Graham, and it was awesome working with him. it was like working for Yoda of graphic design, or you know, of print, because this guy knew like all the tricks. And the best part was he never gave you the answer straight up. He would always kind of question you and go, hey, you know, are you, you know, tell me your workflow. Tell me how you're thinking about this. I'm going to hide this so you can actually see me. There we go. I'll put my logo in the upper corner. There we go. So yeah, Frank would always kind of go to us and say, you know, well, how are you thinking about this? How are you approaching this? And he would make you figure it out. So that was really, thank you, Frank. Thank you, Frank. I learned a lot from you. I learned production mindset and a whole bunch of other stuff, which, you know what? Go ahead, hit me up. I'd love to talk about it. But I could start showing you some of the more advanced stuff. I don't use Photoshop anymore. I used to. I've switched over to Affinity Photo. It's available on PC and Mac and iPad, and it's really, really good. So let's jump into this and kind of show you a little bit about how this works. Now, these options you can find on your phone, on an iPad, on most any tablet or most any phone. Some may not be there. That's okay. But let me show you a little bit. One you're going to want to know is exposure. Exposure is, and I could use all kinds of fancy terminology. Honestly, it doesn't just make it brighter or darker. It literally lowers everything evenly. So it's a linear light drop, or a linear drop in the lighting. Now, if I bring it up, it brings it up. Now, you'll notice on the left side here, the outside, when I go too high, I lose it. Now, whether you get this when you take the photo or you get this because of editing, it's called blowout. Okay, and you want to avoid it as much as possible. In some cases, it's not really feasible. And in this case, I don't mind it because the outside is not really the feature of this. It's not really important. So it's okay to break the rules, as long as you break the rules, knowing you're breaking the rules and knowing why you're breaking the rules. So that's super important. And it seems like we don't have anybody tuning in. Maybe Facebook is giving me that. Yeah, we went live, but we didn't really. But I'm going to keep going, and if you guys are catching this on replay, awesome. That's, you know, we'll go. Although I must have something going, because I just got some spam, believe it or not. Anyhow, okay. So when I come into here, exposure is literally universally brighter or universally darker. The brilliance, on the other hand, is a little bit different. It keeps the general mid lighting and changes the mids without really changing the black and white so much. So you'll notice, unlike exposure, this is kind of getting more contrasty, which of course can have a really, really nice effect. So you can choose to use this if you want or not. I also want to talk about highlights. Highlights is very important. Highlights is literally only the really, really bright. Anything that is like, you know, white or within 25% of white. So you'll notice that this affects the background, but doesn't really affect much else in the rest of the photo. And although it does influence the color a little bit, because these walls are really light. Shadows is the same thing for anything black and near black. So if I turn the shadows up really high, you notice that I lose highlights, or that I, you know, my shadows become brighter, and I don't have it as contrasty. However, if I turn it up, my shadows get darker. So I can really kind of bring up this, I could kind of go for this really kind of high contrast effect. That being said, if I go away from this, hold on, I'm going to show you something. There is also something called contrast. And contrast does exactly what you would expect, but you have a little less control on how it leans in terms of the highlights or blacks. So I could go here, bring up the contrast, and then bring the highlights up to knock those out. And then I could play with the shadows just a little bit to kind of get a little bit of those midtones and get it just the way I want it. Brightness is, again, tends to be very linear. It's very The only way you're really going to know how these, because these change photo for photo because of the balance of the photo, so you're going to need to play with them. Turn it all the way up, see what it kind of, get a gauge for what it does. Turn it all the way down, get a gauge for what it does. Any one of these, if you turn it all the way up and kind of observe how it works and just play with it. Now, there are given, these tools are given in, no matter where you are given in a particular order. So you are kind of best to follow the order in which these tools are given. Now, I am going to bring my brightness up because I do like that high contrast, but I do want these nice grays in the not real cat's body. You notice, by the way, that I took this, of course, facing upwards. I'm using the framing. He's on my 1/3 line, and I wanted kind of looking up so it looks huge and majestic and what have you. Now, I have color options. I can go here to my options and play with saturation, vibrance, and cast. Cast is just, this is going to determine if your lighting is too neon, you can add warmth. So you can add yellow in order to balance off blue light, or you can add blue to balance off overly yellow light. Like if it's way sunny and it's like nothing but yellow everywhere, you can put in blue to offset. Or if you have a photo that's really well balanced, you can use the blue to kind of make it less inviting. It makes it look cold. Or you can use the yellow to warm it up and make it look more inviting. Let me see if I can show you an example of that with another photo. But I'm not going to jump out of this photo yet. I want to show you a little bit more. Saturation allows you to remove color entirely, or even just a bit, or to add it in and really crank it up. This would look like it was cross-processed. Cross-process was a film when you would shoot slide film, and you would shoot a regular film and you would process it like a slide. It would give this way super oversaturated color. It was really neat. But I want to bring the color down, just not too much. A little saturation drop goes a long way, so that's really important. And there are black and white options. Let me finish up the rest of this and kind of get into, and I'll show you something cool with the black and white after, because all Apple devices do the black and white. I'm not going to get into curves and levels. That's way too much. I would like to talk about sharpen, or actually definition. Definition you will see on the mobile devices as well as the Mac. If you turn up the definition, it's going to bump up the contrast between opposing areas. So you'll see it's only going to get, it's only going to bring the definition up where there are midtones. So it's going to boost the contrast in the midtones a lot. Sharpen is more for fine details, so you won't really see it in the photo like this because these tend to be large swatches of color. If you were talking about a human face, especially one with freckles, definition or sharpen can really bring the freckles out or subdue them a bit, which is really neat. And then vignette is, the old photos, how because the light wouldn't reach the edge of the film. Or the lens would distort the light and it wouldn't reach the edge of the film. So in this case, we can kind of put on a vignette and make it look a little more old-fashioned. And that is just one example of what we can do with a photo. On iPhone and iPad, if you touch on the image and hold on it, it will show you your original photo versus what you have, what changes you have made. I would like to show you by holding M for master, and I can see the master photo. So we have gone from this to this, and I'm going to show you something cool in a minute, and I'm going to go done. Now you'll notice there's no save as option especially in regards to Apple. Others may give you a save as option. What Apple does is really neat. They keep your original base photo, and all the adjustments are really just calculations on top of the image, but that original image always remains underneath. And at any time, if you get much better at, as you get much better at editing photos and you decide that you can do a better job, you can go in and strip out all the adjustments, get back to that image underneath. So these changes are not permanent. You can always kind of come back to the original. So it's good to know that. Let's have a look at this. I want to show you one feature. This is mostly on the Mac, but there's a really, really cool feature. If I come up here and I go to edit, there's the magic wand, by the way. There's this magic wand feature in the title bar. I really don't like the magic wand feature. I'm not a big fan of it. I never use it. What I wanted to show you with this one, I'm going to reduce the saturation just a little bit. I have a reason for doing this. There is on the Mac, now unfortunately this is not on iOS yet, but there are apps that can do it. This is called retouching. Now, the trick is a lot of people go, oh, well, you know, just take him out of the photo. The computer doesn't understand tree person. So you can't just like take the tree out and show the person behind it. What the computer doesn't see, the computer literally sees a grid of pixels of different colors. It's almost like cross-stitch. It really does work like cross-stitch. It's phenomenal. Each pixel has its own color, and it's just a grid of colors. So it doesn't understand person tree. AI is getting better at that, but it still can't do what our brains do and interpret. So there's a fine art of, there is a plug over here. Now, this is not exactly conducive to the type of photo I want to be presenting. So what I can do here is I'm going to go to my retouch brush. I'm going to go here. And I'm going to have to define an area. And I can actually use that area to start removing the plug. And now this uses a really, really neat technology. This one is made to be simple for a user. The technology it uses is quite neat. It looks at what's around. It knows that you want to remove it because you're sampling from one space and painting it into another. And as you paint it down, it's going to fill in what you want, but it's also going to blend it out to the neighbors around it. So it's really, really cool to get in there. Now, the other problem that I have, these are fantastic blues over here. I love the blues that I'm seeing. But the problem that I have is the greens. I really want these greens to pop. Now, the problem is if I turn the saturation up, it turns everything up. And I don't want the blues to be stronger. So I'm turning the saturation down in the whole scene. So again, on the Mac only, and these are things that you would find in Photoshop and other things. There is a tool where I can come in and I can say, well, this is the green I'm looking for. This is the green you're looking for. And I could start making these crazy adjustments. Like I could start shifting the hue of the green. So I could make it look wizen, or I could bring it back and I could make it more blue. But what I really want to do with the green is bring the saturation of the green way up. And I can even play with the luminance. I can make it brighter or darker, and you see it's actually affecting the leaf. But you know what? In order to understand this better, let me go here. I'm going to pick the yellow of the wall. Right? And I'm assigning it to the yellow. So my source yellow is this wall. Now I could shift the color of the wall more towards green or more towards red. But the other thing that I can do is I have this thing called range, and range limits how far it goes into that sample yellow. So I don't mind this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the color as is, but I am going to bring the luminance, how bright that wall is, and I'm going to bring down the saturation just a little bit so that it doesn't stand out. And then I'm going to take the greens and I'm going to increase the range really, really high so that as I go through, I don't want my leaves to look wizen, but this is how you can make it look wizen. And I want to turn the range to where it affects the leaves, but not the wall. And you'll notice now, if I go master, I went from this to this, and it really makes the leaves pop against those blue books. So it really kind of brings the plant out. I could also, if I wanted, go to the wood down here, specifically this wood. And again, I could turn the saturation and luminance up and start bringing the range up. Am I getting what I want? Yeah, not bad, not bad. I don't want to change the color. I just want to bring the saturation up. And again, so I have now made that bench stand out against the wall, and the plug is just gone. So these are the tricks that you see in magazines. Like these are the tricks that you want to know, right? Like, okay, I don't like that telephone pole there. The catch is, if you have something like a building or whatever, you got to remember that as good as it is at blending in these flat areas, a building with windows and stuff like that, you can do it, but you're going to have to be an artist about it. You're really going to have to get in there and clean the line, go along the lines. But you know what? I'm around. Go ahead, ask me the questions. follow me, ask the questions in the comments. I love questions. I love showing this stuff off. And I'm going to do one last one with this selective color tool that I think you would find a lot of fun. And again, I'm going to keep this. Okay, there we go. If I wanted to do something really neat with this, I will go back to edit. I will go I'm not even going to change anything else. I'm literally going to selective color. I'm going to choose my reds. I'm going to go to selective color, and I'm going to choose the color of the flower. And I'm going to desaturate it just to see if it's working the way I want. It's getting the cabinet as well. I want to turn down the range so that it's not getting the cabinet as much. I'm going to turn the saturation up a bit, and I want to change the color of these flowers to a purple. And you notice that it is affecting the leaf. Yeah, it's affecting the leaf a little bit, and I'm okay with that because, quite frankly, it's so close to the flowers anyway. But we can turn if the saturation is too high, it looks comic booky. It doesn't look really good. So we're going to turn that down just a bit so that they look more in line with the scene. It doesn't change the lighting on them. It doesn't affect anything else. And now we have purple flowers where we used to have red ones. So these are just a couple of the tools. And then we could actually kind of get into the whole scene saturation. I could go, no, I really want to bring the saturation on the flowers up a little more so that they stand out more, and lighten them up just a little bit more so that they look more in the light, and so on and so forth. So we have some really, really neat tools there. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching this after the fact if you didn't tune in live. And remember that we are going 6:45 tomorrow, so we are going a little earlier. If you guys want to see more on the editing, please let me know in the comments. You can email me over at coaching@rstruther.com, and I will have the site up soon. I promise. I'm working on that. But if you guys want to see more about the editing and you want to go further on that front, that's awesome. Tomorrow, I want to show you some of the possibilities that we can do in terms of what you can do with these photos once you've done your editing, once you have a selection of photos that you really, really like and that you really, really like working with, you really, really want to work with, what you can do with those photos after the fact. I'm actually going to show you how to build a photo book, we're going to do a 2-page spread of a photo book live, and you guys can tell me what you think and whatnot. We'll break into that and show you that. And then we're going to be going on to other topics. I'll probably break into video a little bit because I know there are some of you who are really into video, and there's a couple of people I have in mind to bring in as guests. If you guys are interested, again, I'd love to know more what you guys think. Let me know in the comments if you really, really like this, and if there's a direction or a question you have or a direction you think this should go. And I am looking forward to seeing you guys again tomorrow at 6:45. Have a great night. Thanks for joining me on a Sunday, and we'll jump into this. We'll jump into what you can do with the photos tomorrow. All right. Have a great evening, all.